Hey, everybody. Welcome to Cruise Chat Live. I'm Walter. I'm going to go ahead and bring in our special guests one at a time, Brian and Sam. Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hello. We're doing great.
Oh, welcome to the show. That was fun. We had a blast getting everything all set up for tonight. Gotta love technical stuff. I hate technology, and I worked in it for 30 years, but okay, here we are. Well, welcome, guys. For those of you just tuning in for the first time, I'm Walter. I am the travel advisor for Where's Walter Travel. As always, my lovely wife, Rebecca, is joining us off camera. Brian, you're lucky you get Sam to sit right there on camera. I can't get Rebecca on camera. You can say hello, hon. No? Okay, she's not even going to say
Hi, Rebecca.
Sam says hi. So what I thought we'd do, and Brian, you like to do this a lot on your show, where you say you want to like set the stage and you want to like set everything up. So I'm gonna just bring up for those of you, we're gonna be talking about Disney Cruise Lines. Maybe you've never cruised Disney Cruise Lines. I'm sure you've all heard of Disney Cruise Lines, but let's kind of set the stage first before we go into this discussion. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring up this graphic right here and walk us through. There we go. So Disney Cruise Lines, it literally started back in 1995. That's when it was first founded. And then the first maiden voyage was 1999, August 15th. My goodness, 1999, Y2K Armageddon was upon us at that time. Planes are going to fall out of the sky. Oh my God, all these things are going to happen.
Oh my goodness.
And that's when Disney Cruise Lines launched. Now, she started out with the Disney Magic, followed by the Wonder. Those are the original ships. They're 83,000 gross tons or thereabouts. 11 decks, 875 cabins, 2,700 passengers at double occupancy. Shortly thereafter, we got the Fantasy and the Dream, larger ship, 129,000, almost 130,000 gross tons, 14 decks, 1,250 cabins, 4,000 passengers at double occupancy. And most recently, the Disney Wish launched, larger yet, 144,000, 15 decks, fewer cabins. Interesting. So the cabins may have gotten a little bit larger. 2 cinemas, which, I think Disney actually has some of the best movie theaters, period, on those ships, land or sea. They're amazing. 4,000 passengers, double occupancy. Right now, we've got one private island, Castaway Cay, which is in the Bahamas. And soon, Lighthouse Point is scheduled to come along June 6, 2024. And also in 2024, we're going to get the Disney Treasure, which will be the sister to the Wish. And then the Disney Global Dream, which to my knowledge doesn't have a name yet, but that's the ship that they bought from Genting, will also begin sailing in 2024. So that kind of sets the stage for the discussion tonight. That is Disney Cruise Line. Wow, they've been around for a while, guys.
Yeah, quite a long time. Wow. And now with 5 ships, soon to be 6 ships, then 7 ships, then 8 ships. They're really growing quite fast.
Celebrating their 25th anniversary at sea this year.
Right?
So yes, yeah.
25 years. My goodness, it is amazing. Hey, everybody. Hey, I see Cindy's here, Northwest Man, Christy Hamill, Scott. Hi, guys. Good to see you all. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining in the conversation. If you've got any questions at all, Brian and Sam are like the experts at all things Disney. And if you have not followed their podcast yet, do so. What, 350 something episodes?
It's getting up there. Yeah, it's somewhere in that neighborhood. Yes. I think we're at 325. I think that's where we were today. Yeah.
Holy shamoly.
And we only started in 2018. So, not even 2018.
No, we started the podcast in 2020.
Yes, right as the world shut down.
Wow. So in 3 years, you're well over 300 episodes. Good for you guys. Wow. Yeah. That's absolutely amazing. So I know we've got some questions that we had talked about, but I'm just kind of curious, how did we get into Disney Cruise Lines and why? Let's start with you, Brian. Why Disney, and why do you love it so much to keep sailing?
So it's a funny story. It's one we've told several times on our show, actually. So I had a milestone birthday back in 2018 and reached out to a friend of Sam's who was working in the cruise industry at the time, not for Disney. And I said that I kind of wanted to do a cruise. I'd done some cruises with Sam and my family when I'd been a little younger. and had not done them for probably 10 years. And just said I kind of wanted to go on a cruise again. I want to give it a try. And I asked him who we should sail. And he said, hands down, Disney. And I said, you work for a different cruise line? He said, I sail Disney. And then I said, well, we're not bringing our son with us. And he responded, well, you know, I'm a gay man. I have no children. I cruise Disney. And so we booked a Disney cruise. And from the moment we stepped on the ship and they announced our family name and clapped in the atrium, we were completely hooked. And so
it's just magical.
Yeah. So we've done now, since that sailing in January of 2018, we have done 20. I've done 20 sailings on Disney Cruise Line. Sam has done 19, and our son is, I forget where he is, but he's platinum, so he's done more than 10. So, and the cruises were shut down for 18 months of that. So we love going back to Disney Cruise Line.
We're fanatics, basically.
And what you just talked about leads right into Cindy right on here. How is Disney for adults traveling with no kid? Hey, Sam, why don't you start?
Disney Cruise Line is fantastic for adults traveling without kids. There are some exclusive adults only spaces on the ship. In particular, all of the ships have an adult pool area, an adult sort of sun deck area that sometimes kids may have to walk through in order to get to another place on the ship, but that are only allowed adults to sit and relax and hang out in those pools. There are also plenty of adult spaces on the ship for nightlife, as well as a spa. And then, of course, there are three of the ships, there are 2 adults only restaurants. And on the original 2 ships, there is 1 adults only restaurant. Now, those are an upcharge, the adult only restaurants, but Disney cruising is fantastic for adults. There's plenty to do. There are adult trivia, adult game shows. There's a very fun game that people love called Match Your Mate. That's done sort of a late night activity. And it's a newlywed style game. It's quite hilarious. And all of the variety act performers that appear on the Walt Disney stage on the ships also do shows that are exclusive for adults, sort of in the late night spaces as well. So fantastic activities for adults without kids. Fantastic activities for families, of course, as Disney is known for. But really, I think Disney Cruise Line is for any person who loves cruising and is Disney curious, at least.
Yeah.
You hate Disney, it's probably not for you.
I'll add one thing. Disney is really great at service, but also on this subject of adults, kids. Look, there are spaces in the ship that are overrun with kids. The pool deck can be very overrun with kids, but there's an adult pool area. And the amazing thing is, you walk past this one barrier on the pool deck, you can't hear anything of what's going on in the kids area. So that, like, Disney Imagineering and engineering is fantastic. You walk in there, it's like a spa space. It's quiet, people relaxed, having drinks, and there's a funnel vision, with a Disney movie playing at full volume, 25 feet away or something. So it's really nice. It's really nice.
Yeah, it is like Pixie Dust, right? You walk in and all the sound just goes away. And I know on the Fantasy, there was a lovely coffee shop right next to the adult
Cove
pool,
Cafe.
which was like my jam. Yeah.
Yes, and it's on all 5 of the ships, actually. All 5 ships have the Cove Cafe. And then actually on the Disney Wish, the newest ship, there are actually several cafes that are also kid-friendly. So in addition to Cove Cafe, which is still adults only.
Nice. So yeah, and that was our feeling as well. We went on the Fantasy, and of course there's that whole adult district in the back, which I thought was a little chopped up. I felt like it could have been like 2 or 3 nice big spaces instead of maybe 5 or 6 small ones, whatever it is. But Rebecca definitely loved the champagne bar, because it's one of the few places where you could actually get a glass of champagne without buying the bottle.
Oh, yes.
Which was kind of cool. So Northwest Man, this is a very interesting question right here. And this has everything to do with Asia, is the answer. And I'll let you guys jump in. But the answer right now is no. But we're all expecting the Genting Dream, whenever she's revealed, probably will, because she had a huge casino designed into it. Brian, why don't you start? What are your thoughts? Do you think it's coming?
So we have heard from various crew on board that perhaps that will not come to fruition, that there will not be a casino, that Disney will not break with brand and put a casino on the ship. So may end up being a very controversial business choice. but we're hearing no. I would not be surprised to see one or for that to change, because they've still got a lot of Imagineering and engineering to do to finish out the build out of that ship. So, but I do think Disney has been very, very strict on not sort of sullying the brand in that way. And so my hope was they wouldn't. And we're starting to sort of hear rumblings that they may not.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I was predicting, to be perfectly candid, I have always been predicting on this new, we keep calling it the Global Dream, but the monster ship that's going to sail in Asia, I've been predicting that they will have a casino, but that it will be a smaller scaled back version of what was originally planned on Genting. However, and that it would have no IP in it. However, the rumblings we're hearing is that that may have been Imagineered out, but we don't know for sure. And as Brian said, anything can change. They're still in the development stages, and so we don't really know. But so I'd say call it a big question mark. But right now, the answer to Northwest Man's question is no. There are no casinos on Disney cruises.
Yeah, and we are hearing some rumblings that Disney is not as far along in the design and development process of the Global Dream as some of the local shipyards might have hoped. And so there is some question about whether she'll be finished on time, and or whether Disney is starting to rethink the commitment they made there. We don't know anything about that. I'd be shocked if they pull the plug on it entirely because of the commitments they made to Singapore. But things may not be going as fast as one would have hoped initially. So.
Yeah. And Scott, thank you. If you like what we're doing, please do hit the likes. I really do appreciate that. Rebecca and I both appreciate that. That would actually kind of shock me because, casino is thought to be like very important for that Asian market. Now, the one thing that I did see that change, the original rendering has 6 funnels on it. Now it's down to 4 funnels. I just assumed they were going to put some extra tower suites or something in it.
Yeah. We've heard at least 3 on board that ship. So
just crazy. 4 is symmetrical, right? So
yeah.
they got to do 4, right?
Yeah.
Just because they're Disney, so they've got to do 4.
Yeah.
But that's going to be really interesting if they don't put the casino in there, just because it's going to be in Asia. I kind of was with Sam because originally it was going to be massive. I mean, if you saw the original renderings on it, it was a huge casino, and I just figured, well, they'll put a small one out of the way. Kids can't see it. It's over here if you want to play. But
I always tell people, remember, Disney was slow to put alcohol in the parks, and you still can't get it in some of the theme parks because they're very sort of protective of that family-friendly brand. So yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you still can't get a drinks package on Disney, right?
You cannot. There are no there. You can buy wine packages for dinner, but that's it. Everything else is drinks or a la carte.
Well, you can buy a beer token, and you can buy beer packages, sort of meaning you can buy 6 at a time at a slight discount. So there are some packages, but not in the traditional sense of other cruise lines, and not for hard liquor drinks. Those are bought individually.
And it doesn't hurt the brand at all. People are like, oh, you got to have a drinks package or they're not going to go. Well, obviously Disney has no problems filling their ships right now. So
absolutely.
So that kind of leads into like a first topic that we were going to cover tonight. And one of the things was, where, in your opinion, and Stan, let's start with you. So where does Disney shine? I mean, this is a family-based cruise line. We've already established you can go on as adults, but squarely, we're looking at Royal Caribbean. We're looking at Norwegian. We might be looking at MSC. Might be looking at Carnival. Where does Disney shine?
So I would say Disney is a luxury family cruise line. And what I mean by that is it's certainly on the pricier end for your average cruise. And it definitely, its target audience is families, no question. But where it shines is in its inclusiveness, as far as there are not a lot of extras that you have to pay for on board. Now, there are some extras that you can pay for, but you could go on a Disney ship, not pay a single dime in addition to what you paid in your cruise fare, and of course your tips, and have a fantastic cruise experience. I mean, all of your soda is included. All of your, teas and coffees are included, unless you want specialty coffee, as we mentioned, the Cove Cafe. All of the entertainment on board is included, meaning all of the shows, all of the trivias, all of the game shows. Now, if you want to do bingo, which is the only gambling on board Disney Cruise Line, you do have to pay for bingo. And if you want alcoholic beverages or you want adult dining, you do have to pay for those. But as a general matter, other than, excursions, which you have to pay for no matter what cruise line you're going on, Disney really doesn't nickel and dime its passengers for these extras or these upgrades. So really, you can get on the cruise, have an amazing time, see Broadway style entertainment on the Walt Disney stage, see some variety acts like a ventriloquist or a magician, and have a grand old time and eat your fill of delicious food. So all of the food in the main dining rooms, all of the food on the pool deck, all of the food in the buffet, which is only for breakfast and lunch for the buffet, but all of that is included. And you don't have sort of the specialty dining that you have on other cruise lines that are upcharges. So I'd say, on its inclusiveness, on its entertainment, and as Brian mentioned earlier, really its service, but I would absolutely say it is more of a luxury family cruise line.
Yeah. I would say that the two places where Disney shines, and one of them is going to dovetail into a comment from one of your listeners here, but service, Disney has outstanding service, and look, I recently got back from a Royal Caribbean cruise. I'm not besmirching the service on other cruise lines, but I will say Disney's is a cut above, and they very, very much view guest happiness as like an essential. They want to make every moment magical. That's their goal. And it is amazing service. The one that dovetails with someone that made a comment here is when we were on our very first Disney cruise, our friend led us up to the top deck, and the Carnival, I forget which Carnival ship it was. I think it was the one that lost its funnel recently, but to a fire, but was sitting across from us. And he said, just look at all the soot and stuff built up on that ship. He's like, when we're in port, you're going to watch them clean this ship bow to stern every port. Like, this ship will never not be clean. And it is amazing. You get off that ship and they've already got all the rigging out and they're hosing the whole thing down bow to stern. So I think Disney does really shine on keeping those ships just gleaming clean inside and out. So
yeah, and say what you will about Disney, they have the most beautiful ships in every port. I mean, you see a ship and it's like there's nothing that even compares. It's a classic ocean liner, and then all the trim and the paint and everything. I mean, they are the prettiest ships in port, whatever port you're going to be in.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The amount of detail they put into that Imagineering, my favorite story about Disney Cruise Line, I'll just share very quickly, is the hull color. So the hull color is a shade of blue called Monica Blue. And the reason it's called Monica Blue is that they were fretting over the shade of blue that they were going to paint the hull of the ship. And an Imagineer named Monica walked in wearing a pair of blue suit pants. And the Imagineer supposedly said, we need those pants right now. And that became the whole color of the ship. They color matched her pants. It became the whole color of the ship. And so now it's called Monica Blue. So
everyone thinks it's black. It looks black. It's not black. It's actually a very dark midnight shade of blue. Now, we had one in the sun. There's one comment asking about Disney K-Cups in the room. And the answer is no. There are no K-Cups in the room because there are no Keurigs in your stateroom.
But room service is included. So if you want a pot of coffee, you can call. They'll bring you a pot of coffee. So you don't need to make it yourself.
Right. Or you go up to the pool deck and you grab yourself a cup of coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see Linda is going on your first and second Disney cruise. See, that's the way you do it. Don't book one, book two at a time.
That's what we did.
I love it. So Tom is of the mind that maybe if you don't bring children, you're paying for things that you will never use. And my feeling is what you just talked about with the service and the food. So for those who have never cruised Disney, and you guys have obviously done it a lot, the main dining room is on par with specialty dining on a lot of other cruise lines.
That's
Sam or Brian?
Yeah, the food on Disney Cruise Line is amazing. I would say, sure, the kids club is there and you're not going to use it, but the characters are out and walking around, and we enjoy getting a character photo every now and again. The water slides aren't only for kids, that sort of stuff. So a lot of the amenities are really family and shared amenities apart from the unique kids club offering on board. And I will say the kids club on board is gold standard. I mean, it is amazing. So if you have kids, not to be missed. But, we don't feel like we're paying for the kids club when we're on board. We feel like we're paying for the service. The food is outstanding. The specialty dining is, outstanding. So, yeah, I agree. I think you're paying for food and service and cleanliness and the rooms, too. I will say, having just gone on my first Royal Caribbean cruise, the staterooms on board Disney Cruise Line tend to be larger than any other staterooms out there. And so, even the smallest stateroom is probably bigger than the stateroom you're used to on some other cruise lines. So,
yeah,
they are.
And to be fair, our kid does love the kids club on Disney Cruise Line. So it's not an amenity we don't use. We only use it when he sails with us, which is most of the time when we sail.
Well, and to be fair, every cruise line has a kids club. I mean, so
Right.
whether we're bringing kids or not, we're paying to help, fund the staff that's running the kids club or
That's
all
right.
that technology and all of that on every cruise line. Now, one big tip that I'm going to give, and we've only been on the Fantasy so far, but when on embarkation day, that's the only time that pretty much anybody can go to the kids club. And I encourage all the adults to go to the kids club on embarkation day, bring your cameras, because you're going to be able to get some awesome photographs that you will not be able to take for the rest of the cruise, because once they start using that, I've got great pictures with, Slinky Dog. I'm sitting on RC and all this stuff. So even if you're an adult, get on the ship, go straight to the kids club and check it out before they close it up.
They do have some occasional open houses throughout other sailings, but yes, the day one is the best opportunity. It's the longest it's open. Otherwise, you got to kind of pay attention to the schedule. But
Yeah. Okay, so Brian, let's start with you. Disney value. Let's talk about that. And actually, it kind of goes a little hand in hand with Tom, because we got Royal, NCL, Carnival, MSC. They're all so much cheaper. Why should I pay so much more? Because sometimes, it can be double for the same cruise. And of course, when you talk about the Wish, like 2.5 of everybody else. So let's talk about that value. Where do guests get the value for that added cost?
Yeah, I keep coming back to the service. So look, I will say this. We sailed Celebrity ages ago, and we had excellent service, but we were sailing in their suite class products. My parents were with us. They had a butler. That was the level of service we got used to. I just got back from Royal. And the key difference for me, just comparing my experiences on Disney with what I just experienced on Royal. On Disney, I feel like the crew is constantly going above and beyond to make my cruise experience better. It's not about me complaining to them about things. It's about the servers in the dining room are standing there going, what can I do to make this even better for you? Not that something's gone wrong. It's just, you're happy. I want to make you even happier. Right. And that is amazing. When we ate in main dining in Royal, I felt like they were just there to grab a drink order and put the food down. And it's not a knock on them, right? It's not. It's just the service quality was different. The expectation, I think, of the crew on Disney is different than it may be on Royal. I never really got a feeling on Royal like anyone was trying to go above and beyond to make my cruise better. I think they were there to deliver the product that they have, right? And it's not a bad product. That's the other thing I want to say. Value is a tough question. It really depends on what you value, right? So there's lots of people who say I can go on 3 or 4 Royal cruises, in the same price that I would sail maybe 2 Disney cruises in a year. That's if you value the frequency over some of these other things. I'm not going to tell you don't sail Royal. Royal has a product and it's different. My son actually really liked Castaway Cay. He really enjoyed the kids club experience that he had on Royal, even though I thought he wouldn't. And so we'll probably go back to Royal on occasion, but we find value in Disney Cruise Line really from that service standpoint. We know we're going to have a great time on board, great service on board. And if something goes wrong, I will say this, we've had some pretty big things go wrong on Disney cruises, including my wife getting COVID and on board the Disney Wonder. And we have a whole series of episodes about that, but they made that right every step of the way. There was zero argument that we had to have with Disney. When she got sick, as soon as we got off the boat, we were getting calls from shoreside, making sure she was okay, calling once a day to find out how she was doing. So they made it right the entire time.
The other thing that I feel like I have to mention, because where is the value in Disney, or where, sort of goes hand in hand with where does Disney shine, but entertainment is, huge for Disney. It is an entertainment company that happens to have cruise ships. That's what Disney is. It is not a cruise line that happens to do entertainment. It is an entertainment company that happens to have cruise ships. And that is reflected in every cast interaction, every show, every performance, every trivia game, all of the activities that you participate on board any of the Disney ships are Disney themed. So the spaces are, often Disney themed, although some of them have, city, different, theming and things like that. But
So
they are
just to interrupt for a quick second, my computer is not showing me Sam. I see that Sam's still on the feed, but my computer, I apologize. I've lost some of what you said, Sam. I know everybody else is hearing it, but I lost it on here. So I apologize.
No worries.
I'm killing the banner, so the banner's going to stop, and hopefully that's going to help on my computer. We're having all kinds of fun tonight with technical stuff. So I'm sorry, did I cut you off? I hope I didn't cut you off. My apologies.
No, honestly, I'll just
Brian, which ship were you on? Royal Caribbean.
I was on Independence of the Seas out of Port Canaveral for just a 3-day sailing or 3-night sailing to Castaway Cay and Nassau.
Okay. So you to go sail on. It would be fun to get you guys onto an Oasis class and see what you think of that. That would definitely be a lot of fun. My StreamYard is just not happy at the moment. So Sam, I can see you in the preview. I can't see you in the main screen or hear you. So I'm just trying to see if my system will reset itself a little bit. So I apologize there. Okay, I'm going to jump on to the next question. And Sam, I'll let you guys start. Well, actually, we already talked about why Disney is a good cruise line for adults as well as families. So we already jumped through into that question previously. So why don't we go with the kind of the ship comparison a little bit? I don't really want to go exhaustive, but you guys have been like on pretty much. You have been on every ship now, right? Because you went on the Wish.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So.
Yep.
So how would you? So we got the Wonder and the Magic. Those are the small guys. Then we got the Fantasy and the Dream. They're in the middle. Oh, okay. Thanks, Rebecca. Rebecca's reminding me, Rana asked a question in there whether the menus are going to change anytime soon. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so they do constantly introduce, new menu items here and there. They did recently change up. I feel like there were some menu changes post-COVID, but not big ones. Part of the problem you run into with Disney is everyone wants new stuff until you give them new stuff, and then they want the old stuff back again. So you see this a lot with rides and stuff in the parks where, people are like, oh, I want a new ride. And then they change the ride and they're like, but I love that ride. So it's tough for them. They kind of, damned if they do, damned if they don't. So they have not had a lot of new menu items, but they did do some change ups post-COVID. The other thing that we've heard is that they've started to introduce some new specialty menus. We heard they were testing some new menus out on the transatlantic sailing and for the European season for the Dream. So there may be some new menus kind of in their back pocket. The problem is, when you're on a 3-night, you're getting the standard 3-night rotational menus, or 4-night, you're getting those plus a pirate night. On a 7-night, they've got 2 stock and trade rotational menus for each of the restaurants plus a pirate night. So you really got to get on some longer sailings before you start to see, or some unique sailings like Alaska before you start to see some of these special menus. So if you're just sailing in the Caribbean, they have not made a ton of menu changes. And fans have been asking for it, so we're hopeful. But thus far, no.
Okay. All right. And Tom's got a good question down there too. Somebody's not a Disney fan. Would it compare to a Viking Sea? He's saying he enjoys Epcot and Animal Kingdom, but he really doesn't enjoy the rest of it. Sam?
Yeah, so I would definitely say that if you are at all Disney curious, which it sounds like you are because you like Epcot and Animal Kingdom, it's not Disney like Magic Kingdom does Disney, right? It's not everywhere in your face characters and Disney IP, but there are touches in a lot of the spaces, and the entertainment, meaning the stage shows, are Disney stories and Disney storytelling. So you get that Disney quality without it being like Disney exploded an IP bomb all over and you can't escape it. So I would say if you are at all Disney curious, you will probably enjoy a Disney cruise if you like cruising, of course. So yeah, as long as you like some of the parks, even if you're not a big fan of Hollywood Studios or Magic Kingdom, I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of Magic Kingdom myself. I'm also a Disneyland person, not a Disney World person. So you might
one of those.
see
I
it.
know.
Yeah. We live on the West Coast, so we can't help ourselves. I did grow up on the East Coast, but we live on the West Coast, so
I see someone's asking what IP stands for. Intellectual property is what we mean. So it's the infusion of Disney characters, movies, all of that sort of stuff into the ship. So there's been a big push by Disney of late to, like they redid the Bay Lake Tower Hotel or the Contemporary Tower Hotel with an Incredibles theming in the room. So there's been a push of Disney to sort of start to push their IP, their intellectual property, into different spaces. So yeah.
Right. And Disney cruises have touches of Disney theming in spaces. And certainly on the Wish, I'd say there's even a little bit more theming than on the original 4 ships. But it doesn't feel like Disney threw up on a space. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. It's there, but it's understated. Yeah. Or it's elegantly done. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's almost like if you've ever sailed on a Holland America ship, which is a very classic cruise liner. Disney is like a step up from that, because like you said, where the Disney IP is, there's Disney IP, but then where it isn't, it's just a lovely, elegant ship, especially in the cabins. The cabins really don't have a whole lot of IP in them, but the cabins are absolutely stunningly beautiful. So
totally agree. Yep.
So I don't know about the Viking Sea, Tom, because that's a pretty small ship.
And Viking's only adults.
That's true. Viking is adults only. So, what are our thoughts on the Star Wars Land Cruise? Well, it's going to end very shortly. Have you guys done it?
We will be doing it on the 28th of the month.
Next month.
Yes,
next month. July. Yeah.
In July. We got to get together for a cup of coffee while you're down here.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
We're heading in. We're going to do the Star Wars cruiser. Yeah. We wanted to get it under our belt just to say we had done all of the Disney cruising experiences we could.
Well, Tom, you'll have to wait a month and then we'll find out what their thoughts are. I'm very curious just to see, we put all that money into this darn thing. Are they going to keep it as a Star Wars hotel? I mean, I think they could add a pool to the outside, keep it a Star Wars hotel, or then what do you do with it and all that technology?
Yeah, I hope so. It's only 100 rooms, so it's not a very profitable enterprise as just a hotel, I would think, but I'm hoping that they'll use it for something. I just can't imagine the investment that they made just kind of completely giving it up and not reworking it into something else.
Well, Josh tomorrow apparently is on record as of yesterday or the day before that they have plans. They're just not ready to talk about them yet. So I don't know what that could mean, bulldozing the hotel and extending Star Wars land. We don't know, but they do have a plan for the space.
Yeah.
So,
And Tom, we have had a couple of guests to talk about the Galactic Star Cruiser on our podcast. So we do have some episodes where we talk about it, but not from our own experience, obviously living through the experiences of others.
In fact, one of my favorite episodes was Lynn Testa. If you're a Disney fan, you will know that name. Lynn Testa was on and he shared his Star Wars experience as Hank Lonely was his character when he went on board. So as a play on Han Solo.
Awesome. That's awesome. I have not gotten to that one yet. The one that I have enjoyed the most so far is your gentleman who goes by Concierge something, Chris.
Chris in the Concierge Lounge. Yes.
My goodness, that episode about the Tower Suite was really interesting, and the lack of balcony was something I had noticed. And I was so if you guys are very interested in the Tower Suite and what is it like to stay in the Tower Suite, it is one of the more recent episodes on DCL Duo. Great conversation. And if you want to talk about Disney value, I thought you guys did a really good discussion in that episode about Disney value and where is Disney's value today compared to what other folks are doing. So really interesting discussion, guys. Check that episode out for sure. It's like 300 something, one of your recent episodes.
Yes. Yeah. We were on board with Chris and so got to see the suite ourselves.
Oh, you got to go in it. Oh, how cool.
Yes.
So, and by the way, everybody, Chris in the Concierge Lounge, he stays just in the Royal Suite and the Tower Suite. I mean, this is all this. Will he adopt me? Is what I want to know.
We asked if we could be adopted, and he declined to adopt us.
Darn it.
So I'm not sure there's room in
Darn
his
it.
family right now.
Darn it. Darn it.
But the list
All
is
right.
long of people who want to be adopted by Chris.
He sounds fabulous. I would love to meet him one of these days.
He's a great
So let's talk about the ships just a little bit. Not exhaustive, but we got the Wonder Magic. They're the original, the baby ships, if you will. We've got the Fantasy Dream, which are the teenagers, and now we've got the Wish, which is the grown-up adult. Brian, why don't you start? How would you start the comparison of what's what?
Sure. I mean, so in some ways it's easy. So the Magic and the Wonder are the two smallest in the fleet, the two original ships. Then you step up a level with Dream and Fantasy, and then the Wish is the largest. Although interestingly enough, she's really only bigger because of the need to store the liquid natural gas. They needed a bigger compartment for that. And so all of the ships will have 3 rotational dining restaurants. Most of the ships, well, all of the ships will have at least 1 adult dining venue, and then the larger ships have 2. They all have theaters. They all have main stage shows. They all, except for one, the Magic, will have a signature water ride or water slide. Sorry, not the Magic, the Wonder. Wonder does not have one of those. And, all have kids clubs, all have really nice staterooms, all have a concierge level or a ship within a ship experience. And so what we're really talking about changing is theming, right? And so the 4 classic or original, the 2 classic ships or the 4 original ships kind of have a similar theming. They'll be Art Deco or kind of modern style decor. The restaurants will all have, there's on the 4 original ships, they all have an Animator's Palette restaurant as one of the rotational restaurants that has kind of a fun show associated with it that we won't spoil for folks who haven't been. They will all have kind of an upscale dining experience main restaurant. So I'm trying to remember the names of it. Triton's,
Lumiere's, Royal Palace, Royal Court.
Yeah, it'll have the infamous kind of Disney French menu one night with the escargot on it and the Chateaubriand. And then what they've started doing is each of those ships then starts to have like a themed restaurant. So on the 2 smaller ships, you've got the Tiana's Place or Rapunzel's Royal Table, which will be really themed out with a Disney show, associated with those movies. They've themed out bar spaces on those ships. So in Tiana's Place, you've got a French Quarter lounge that ties into the restaurant. On the Magic post her recent dry dock, you've now got a soul themed restaurant, like a jazz bar kind of experience on board. And then, the other big thing is on these ships, the adult spaces kind of flex bigger and smaller depending on the size of the ship a little bit. But basically the ship experience for those first 4 ships is really kind of similar. You can walk on board any of them and really start to find your way pretty quickly. The Wish completely changed things. So Wish is a whole nother animal. It's their new design motif. They have really tried to theme the ship throughout with a consistent theming experience. So the Wish is really themed around princesses. And so there's lots of sort of princess decor. The rooms are the first in the fleet to have some theming inside. And so by deck and category of room, they have sort of different kinds of princess themings. You might get Tiana, you might get Rapunzel, you might get Cinderella, that sort of stuff. And then the restaurants on board have theming. They also put in bar spaces with lots of themes. You get a Star Wars hyperspace lounge now. They made a concerted effort to take bigger spaces and make them more intimate is kind of what we're seeing. And so instead of having one adult space, Walter, to your point in the beginning, where it was like, we've got all these adult spaces in one area and they're all chopped up, right? On the other ships, on like the Fantasy. On the Wish, they've spread all of those adult spaces out throughout the ship so that you're not congregating all the adults in one area at one set of bars. They can go to different bars throughout the ship kind of thing. But it means they're smaller and they're a little bit more intimate. So that 2 movie theater thing you mentioned, what's interesting is it's really the same size as one of the theaters on the other ship, and they've split it up into 2 so they can show 2 different movies at once in 2 smaller theaters. Some people like that. Some people don't. It's been a very divisive ship in the fleet. As I said earlier, those Disney fans who want change but don't love change. So we love that ship. We think it's a really great ship. It's our number 1 ship to recommend for families who are wanting to experience Disney Cruise Line. Our number 1 ship for adults is probably the Wonder. I don't know if Sam would still agree, but the Wonder is our favorite for adults. But the first 4 ships have very consistent experience. The Wish really changed the game, and we expect the Treasure to continue that. And you've seen now the motif is really about, I think, adventure kind of theming on board the Wish. So, or on board the Treasure.
And the only thing I would add to what Brian said is the kids clubs are, well, the Wonder and the Magic identical essentially, and then Dream and Fantasy identical to one another as well. The Wish's new kids club for the 3 to 12-year-olds is
another level.
I mean, it's incredible. The experiences in that kids club, the theming, it's amazing. It's our son's favorite of all of the fleet. He likes the Wish because he likes the kids club the best, and it's really fantastic. So while it is certainly more expensive per night than any other cruise on Disney Cruise Line, it's that experience that you're in part paying for. You're paying for the newness. You're paying for all of the different activities. The Wish has probably more stuff to do on board as well, and of course for a shorter cruise. So it's a jam-packed cruise.
Wow. And Tom, the new that ship, it was the Genting Global Dream, and we were just talking about a little while ago that we're not quite sure. Brian was saying there's been some rumblings that maybe they're going to rework it a little bit more. And to my surprise, they're hearing that they don't think there's going to be a casino on it. That's rather interesting for the Asian market. Gosh, I had a question and it just went right out of my head. Well, that's going to happen, so I'm just going to move on.
Happens to me all the time.
Oh my goodness. Being a travel agent and having, it's funny because people will call me and go, so what's the rule with this cruise line? And I'm like, I've got 20 different cruise lines on my brain. Wait a minute. I need to go in and go look. I don't have a Rolodex in my head anymore.
It's impossible to remember all those details. That's why we focus on one cruise line, Walter. That we do not proclaim to be experts on any other cruise line because they all are so different.
You are so smart to do that. But I mean, you bring us so much knowledge, and I'm serious. To anybody who's watching live right now, who's watching the replay later, seriously, go subscribe. You guys do an amazing job. I think you're actually one of the best travel podcasts out there because you're enjoyable to listen to, and you provide a lot of good information. No, I'm being serious. I think you guys are just fabulous. So thank you so much for agreeing to come on here and play with us for a little while tonight.
Of course,
happy to do it. Love your show.
So Castaway Cay and soon to be Lighthouse Point. So I think Disney really reset the standard for private islands when they introduced a dock. That was like the first thing they did. They introduced a dock, so we don't have a tender anymore. But then they kind of upped the ante a little bit by adding, like you said, those little Disney touches. So Sam, why don't you start the conversation here? Tell us a little bit about the current guest experience. Like you went to Castaway Cay, so now you've got a good comparison there. And then what should we be expecting to see in Lighthouse Point next year?
Yeah. So full disclosure, I have not been to Castaway Cay. Brian and our son Nathan went on a cruise without me, but I will tell you about the Castaway Cay experience, and then Brian can jump in with the comparison.
Okay.
But
we invited her. She wanted to stay home. I want to be very clear.
I was invited. So beautiful beaches with tons of chairs and tons of umbrellas and hammocks, and there's of course bartenders and bars and waiters all across the island. There's also an area out in the water called Pelican Plunge that has a couple of water slides. There's also kind of a little, I'll call it climbing apparatus and out in the water as well near Pelican Plunge. There are some excursions you can do on Castaway Cay, which include different kinds of boating activities, parasailing, feeding stingrays. There is a Castaway Cay 5K, which it's no longer an organized race. Now it's a sort of race on your own. And if you do the race and you go back to where the bike rentals are at the hut, you can get your very own Castaway Cay 5K medal, which is a rubber medal, but it looks like a real race medal. It's super fun. You can rent bikes, you can rent tubes, you can bike around the island. It's quite a small island. and there's only a small part of it that's actually developed. So it is possible for some expansion. However, Disney has promised the Bahamas that they will only develop a certain portion of the land, and so it's probably not likely to grow very much in the future. There are some private cabanas that you can rent, although they're quite hard to get unless you're staying concierge. And then, of course, there is an adults-only beach called Serenity Bay, which is sort of at the far end of the island from where you dock. But it is also lovely, and it also has private cabanas on that beach as well. There are 3 dining locations on the island that are open for lunch. One is called Cookies. The second is called Cookies 2.
They all
then
serve the same food.
They serve the same food. And then there's one over at Serenity Bay, which actually does have a couple of additional items like steak and I think a spicy chicken or something like that.
Sometimes they have a lobster tail too. Yeah.
Yeah, occasionally,
lobster.
but not. I can't promise you lobster tails.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a private island experience. There are, Bahamians who come and work on the island while passengers from Disney Cruise Line are there, as well as cast members who actually live on the island full time because, ships come to the island every couple of days. It's just a lovely space to relax. It doesn't have a huge water park on it like Coco Cay does. It does not have, an amusement park on it, but you will see Mickey and Minnie trolling around the island. And Pluto and Donald and Daisy and Goofy and sometimes Stitch. And often you will see Captain Jack Sparrow as well on the island. So, yeah, so you can get some character photos on the island. And it's just just a lovely Bahamian beach day is what I would say.
Wow.
Yeah.
And everything's included as far as food goes. Drinks, of course, you have to pay for. And excursions, if you want to do them, you have to pay for.
And cabanas.
And of course, cabanas are of course an upcharge. But as I said, you don't have to do any of those things, and you can still have a lovely day on Castaway, and do the water slides are all included.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I would say so. I'm going to do the comparison between Castaway and Coco, and I think it's sort of really done in three things. One, Disney's Imagineering was trying to blend the island experience into the island itself, right? They were understated, so you're not going to get big water slides, the Caribbean's largest freshwater pool, all of that sort of stuff. It's all about this island is an island, use the beach. We've got food, we've got some understated shops, but it is not going to be kind of an in-your-face experience. It's going to be very kind of low-key and chill. The other thing is because it's smaller, one thing that I didn't like about Coco Cay is it felt like we were constantly moving from place to place to place and reestablishing ourselves throughout the day. So it's like, go to the water park, do that for a while, then go to the pool, try to find a chair, do that for a while, then go to the beach, try to find a place to sit, do that for a while. And so at Disney's Castaway Cay, you get off, you find a beach chair, and you're at home base. Food is 20 feet behind you, beach is 20 feet in front of you, drink servers are passing around. You don't need to go anywhere. Or do anything else for the day if you don't want to. And it's not like you're missing, some huge activity on the other side of the island by staying in one spot. So if you're really into that kind of relaxed beach day, Castaway Cay I thought was, a much different experience than what I had on Coco Cay. I will say I liked Coco Cay's water park. My son had a blast on that water slide, that world's second tallest or North America. He loved it. I love the pool because I'm not big on, Castaway Cay has water slides, but they're in the ocean, and so you're getting dumped right into salt water, which I don't really like. My son doesn't really love. It can be a little different. So we actually liked Coco Cay. Castaway Cay I like because I can just sit there and read a book and not have to really move from place to place. The last thing I'll say, there's a big difference. Castaway Cay, one ship at a time, always. Coco Cay it seems like 2 ships at a time standard, so fewer people. And if you're on a smaller ship and you're going to Castaway, it's designed to accommodate up to the Wish. So if you're on a smaller ship, it means the island just has more space for you. So only one ship at a time. So
yeah, that's real. I think that's a really good compare. I think a very fair comparison. Somebody who's been to both of them, Coco Cay is a completely different animal. I will say you would probably get the similar experience to what you're talking about at Castaway Cay if you paid into the the Cocoa Beach Club.
Yeah.
So the Cocoa Beach Club is a little bit quieter. You get a little bit more like, but you're paying for that. You know, you
Right,
have to
right.
pay to go into that
Yeah.
area. And Cocoa Cay will have an adult beach, I think, by this coming fall.
Oh,
So that'll
nice.
be interesting. And as of right now, they're not charging for it. So,
Yeah. And
so that-
your second question, I realized we didn't answer, which was Lighthouse Point. I will say I'm expecting more of the same.
Yeah,
I'm not.
more of the same.
Now it will be a little bit different because Lighthouse Point is on the island of Eleuthera, which actually is a habited island, as opposed to Castaway Cay. No Bahamians live on Castaway Cay. Eleuthera actually has, hotels and condos and grocery stores and things like that. So I'm expecting there will be more excursions off property at Lighthouse Point than there are at Castaway. But other than that, I would say more of the same. They're going to, blend into the natural environment. It's going to be beach focused. And, there will be beach chairs and some cabanas and some food places. And it will be really lovely and understated, as Brian described.
Yeah. It really looks like what they're doing is setting themselves up for they're moving from Miami to Fort Lauderdale. So the Fort Lauderdale ships will more likely than not call on Lighthouse Point, and the Port Canaveral ships will call on Castaway Cay. And there'll be some cruises that call on both, just like they do some double dip sailings today where they go to Castaway Cay twice. So.
Gotcha. And if you just heard that, it sounded like we just had our first fireworks. It's not even June 30th yet. I think we just had.
Oh my goodness, we didn't even hear it, but
didn't
that's
hear it.
crazy.
This turns into World War III every 4th of July because they sell full fireworks shells here in Florida. So it's quite interesting. They're already getting to it. All right. So we're kind of starting to get close to the end of the hour. So I want to get this in for sure. Let's start with you, Brian, and then maybe Sam, you might have 5 different ones, but your 5 best tips for a Disney cruise. Somebody's never been on a Disney cruise, either for planning, for cruising, for whatever, but your 5 best Disney tips.
Let's see. I probably, Sam is always going to go for 5. So I will keep mine briefer. I really have maybe 2 tips that I would universally give everyone. The first tip that I would give is don't overthink it. So a lot of people get into Disney in that Disney planning mode for like a parks vacation. And it's like, oh, do I buy Genie Plus? Do I not? What do I have to pre-register for? Do I have to be up until this hour? There is some of that on Disney Cruise Line, but it is not a parks vacation. If you set foot on the ship without having pre-booked anything, you can probably still book some of it on board because we kind of know Disney holds back some of that inventory for once people get on board. So if you didn't get adult dining because you're a brand new Disney cruiser and you really wanted to eat at Remy or Palo, like it's going to be okay. You're still going to have a fabulous experience. So I always just tell people, remember, you're going on a cruise vacation. This is supposed to be relaxing. So don't worry about all that hustle and bustle planning that you have to face at the parks. The second tip I'm going to give people is a lot of people couple a Disney cruise with a Disney park stay. And I'm going to give you our number 1 tip, which is do it before you cruise. If you're going to do a Disney park and then a Disney cruise, that's the perfect order. And it's for a couple of reasons. But I will give the countervailing argument that we had someone recently tell us, which I thought was hilarious. But the parks are go up at early in the morning, getting all your fast passes or not, whatever the Genie Plus passes now. We're not parks people or parks experts, so forgive my terminology. But it's go. You're in the parks all day. You're tired. You got to pay for all this food, like all this sort of stuff. And you need to relax afterwards. Well, the Disney cruise is a perfect way to do that. The countervailing argument that we heard from somebody was they felt like they saved money on their parks vacation because they went after the cruise and they were so full from all the food on board that they didn't eat as much at the park. So, if you're budget conscious, that is a strategy, I suppose. But we also had a friend tell us once, there's nothing more annoying than getting off the cruise, going to Disney World, stepping into like a fast quick serve restaurant, and you're like grabbing a bag of chips and you're like, wait, I have to pay for this? Really? Like everything was free 5 minutes ago when I was on the cruise. So
not free, included.
Included. Yes, it was included. So anyway, those are my 2 kind of key tips. Is just take it easy when it comes to a cruise. I think people get this mindset around Disney. I'll share this too. We've seen this start to happen on the ships people are like lining up to get into dining rooms. So I've got one last tip for people. If you get on the ship and you're lining up to get in your dining room, you're doing it wrong. There's no rope dropping on the ship. Like nothing is going to happen in the first 30 minutes of dinner. They're going to seat everybody at their table and then they're going to start a show. And so if you're rolling in 20 minutes after your assigned dining time, you're still going to get seated. They're still going to take your order. You're still going to get to see the show. So I always tell people, if you see that line, skip it, head to the lounge. It's usually near the restaurant that you're going to eat at, have a drink, watch that line dissipate, then walk right in. So no reason to be standing in that line. So anyway, Sam,
Love it.
give your 5 to 9 tips like you usually do on our show.
Okay, I'm going to count down from 5. Okay, so tip number 5, I'm going to tell you to, on your first Disney cruise, skip adult dining, because you will want to experience all of the dining rooms, all of the rotational dining, all of the different menus. And there are some shows in some of the dining rooms, and you might not have planned well enough to know what's going to be on what night, because Disney doesn't give you a lot of that information ahead of time. So for your first Disney cruise, skip adult dining, save it for when you're coming on your second cruise. Okay. Tip number 4. I'm going to tell you to get coffee at the Cove Cafe, because the coffee on the pool deck with the Joffrey's swill is sludge and disgusting. So I'm sorry, you're going to have to pay for this tip I'm giving you, which is to go get your coffee at the Cove Cafe, because Joffrey's coffee is terrible.
But get the punch card, because if you get 5 coffees, your 6th one is free.
You get one free. Yes. Thank you, Brian. Good tip. Okay. Number 3. If you are on the Disney Fantasy or the Dream, do the Midship Detective Agency. It's really fun. It's a onboard activity.
So
Just
much
ask
fun.
a cast member. It's really fun. If you're on the Wish, do the Uncharted Adventure. It is a different experience. You'll need a cell phone for it, but is also really fun. Okay. Number 2, go see the main stage shows. They are fantastic. And what I mean by that is like Aladdin, Tangled, Frozen, Beauty and the Beast. They're Broadway quality in the Walt Disney Theater. Don't miss them. They're just so good. And then my number 1 tip is choose your priorities. Don't try and do everything, because it is impossible to do everything. There are so many activities on board. So if you really want to go see Mickey and get your picture taken with Mickey, prioritize that. If you really want to go to 80s music trivia, prioritize that, right? But choose what you want to do, and don't run yourself ragged trying to do everything. It is just not possible. You're just going to have to book a placeholder, which is a future cruise, and go back on your second cruise and try and do the stuff you didn't do on your first one. So placeholder is basically you're paying $250 on board to put a deposit down on the next cruise, and then you get a discount on that next cruise, and you get a credit as well on board. And if you don't use it within 2 years, you just get refunded. So that's what we recommend if you are on a Disney cruise and you want to book your next one.
Yeah, I'm gonna give one more tip.
Oh, see,
I got one more
anyway.
I got one more. I'm gonna say, use a travel agent who's knowledgeable with Disney Cruise Line. We are not travel agents. Use a travel agent like Walter if you're looking to book a Disney cruise who's knowledgeable in Disney Cruise Line, because they do some things very differently than the other cruise lines in terms of how you pre-book things on board and that sort of stuff. So you want to use someone who knows Disney Cruise Line very, very well, because they have some odd things about them. And I find it to be a big help. Disney's IT is terrible. So the number of times you may have to call Disney Cruise Line to fix something is maybe higher than some of the other cruise lines out there. And so I always love to be able to just email my travel agent and say, hey, can you please just go take care of this issue that Disney has for me? So yes, I'd say use someone who knows Disney and Disney Cruise Line.
Yes. And as a travel agent, I will second that. But and I will say kudos to Disney. They are the only company that literally we have one booking engine for all of it. I can book Walt Disney World, Walt Disneyland, and I only had to learn one system. So I was very, very thankful for that. But you're right. They do, just the way they open up their bookings is different. The way they book the cabin is different. So yeah, I have to go into, there's a reason why we do training on Disney and learn everything about them. So absolutely. We've cruised for almost 20 years, and we used a travel agent for every one of our cruises, until we did it ourselves. So absolutely. And thank you for the shout out for that. I know you guys use a fantastic travel agent as well. So yeah, if you're out there, want to book on Disney, especially if you're new to Disney, because they do so many things differently. You might say, oh, it's just like any other cruise line. They're not. And I will say, you kind of alluded to it earlier, Brian. If you're thinking about going to the parks, the cruise is a heck of a lot more relaxing. And I found that you get a lot more face time with the characters than you do at the parks. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Agree. And I'll say one more thing that we have started to encounter with our guests more and more is a firm belief that a Disney cruise may be a better value than a parks vacation at the moment. It's a sticker shock when you look at it, but when you start to add up all the costs of a Disney park stay, tickets, food, accommodations, all of that sort of stuff, we're hearing more and more from people who are saying, I'm opting for the cruise because I think I'm getting a better deal at this point in time. So yeah,
and not to mention the heat. At least down here in Florida, I mean, it's been pushing 100 degrees every day. So you talked about, the quick service food, dealing with the crowds, and then you're melting on top of all of that too. So, so it's been an hour, but I can't leave this without one last thing, because it's my favorite thing to talk about, which is food. So I'll tell you what my favorite meal is after you guys, but Brian, why don't you go first? What has been your absolute favorite or maybe your best meal on a Disney ship?
So we are big fans of the Disney Cruise Line adult dining. So we love the main dining. We do the main dining restaurants, but we usually try to save room for one of the adult dining restaurants. And so my best meal, it probably would have been Remy until a recent cruise that we did on the Wish. We had eaten in Enchanté, which is their sort of highest end adult dining restaurant. It's, equivalent of like a Michelin starred restaurant on land is what they're going for. We had eaten in Enchanté for the maiden voyage, and it was okay. It was okay. It was good. Not as good as what I thought Remy was on the Fantasy when I ate there the first time. But more recently, we did an Enchanté dinner on the Wish in the private dining room that they have with, it was Sam and I and two friends we were sailing with. And that experience was just unparalleled in my experience. And Sam and I have eaten at some very nice high-end dining on land in multiple different cities around the world. And that hands down was one of my best meal experiences. The setting was gorgeous. The food was wonderful. The chef came out at the end to say hello and chat with us. And so it was just an amazing experience all the way around. So I'm going to go with Enchanté on the Wish here last April.
And I'm going to disagree with Brian, even though that was an incredible meal. But I'm going to say
this is not infrequent, by the way. So if you listen to our show, this is what you get.
This is what you get. Yeah.
We're both lawyers. We're a married couple, but we love to disagree with each other. So I'm going to say Remy on the Fantasy when we ate in the private room for dinner on there,
the wine room. Yeah.
The wine room. And that was, we had every meal at Remy that we've had, it has been incredible. I prefer the dinner to the brunch, to be perfectly candid. I'm not actually a huge fan of the Remy brunch. Palo brunch is a whole nother thing, which is fantastic. We haven't talked about, but we only have a little bit of time. So yeah, I would say Remy on the Fantasy in the wine room with a Colette in my hand. Yeah.
It's an excellent drink.
So Sam in the wine room with the Colette.
That's
Clue.
right.
We just figured it out.
Like Clue.
and the cheese cart. And the cheese cart.
Oh my God, the cheese cart.
Desserts that just keep on coming. I don't even remember half of what
to my cabin. That's what I wanted to do. Can we just please take this with us, please? So Remy Fantasy, we actually ate in the wine room as well. It was our 10th wedding anniversary. And we were with two friends, 20th wedding anniversary? It was our 20th wedding anniversary. Of course. That's what I meant. Totally what I meant.
I love it.
Sam always gets on me about forgetting the number of years. I'm like, I'm not counting because they're just so blissful. So why do I need to keep track? Right?
Yeah. Well, actually, in about a week, it will be our 15th wedding anniversary. Hey. And so, we're heading to Disneyland for the weekend, actually, to celebrate while our kid is away at sleepaway camp.
Nice. So the parents will play while the kid is away. I love it.
That's right.
But yeah, we did Fantasy on Remy, and to this day, I think it's the best meal, just period, that I've had. Like land, sea, you name it, because the service was ridiculous. The food was ridiculous. And then we were in the wine room. And at that time, John Lasseter was still executive producer, and all of his hand-drawn bottles of wine were sitting there. And that was unbelievable. But then that cheese cart came out at the end, and I thought I about died and went to heaven. I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yep.
So, yeah. So for those of you who wonder what you're paying for on Disney, I mean, that's what you're paying for. You are paying for that. Oh, my God, this is ridiculous. This is so much fun. And it is an adult cruise line. Yeah, it's made for family, but it's an adult cruise line. And there's something about, one thing we didn't talk about, which I think was my most fun thing on the whole ship, was formal night. And seeing like Donald Duck in a tux was just the funniest thing I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. Well, and it's nice because you see the characters dressing in different costumes throughout the cruise. Like they have their sort of formal wear, they have their regular outfits, they have their beach wear, they have their pirate wear. And then if you have, if you're on certain specialty cruises, they even have other outfits as well. Like, for maritime cruises, they have Christmas outfits. For Halloween cruises, they have Halloween outfits. So yeah, some great character photos. Now you will wait in some lines for characters, but nothing like you will wait in line in the parks. And generally speaking, you're inside in air conditioning. So it's a little bit better than in Orlando. Like you said, Walter, that's 101 degrees. Yeah.
Oh my God. It's just so hot down here. And I will say we were actually on the Halloween sailing. There were costumes there that were better than Disney. And we were like, how did these people bring them on the ship? Did they have separate luggage just for the costume? So
or Pirate Night?
No, for Halloween.
I was going to say for Pirate Night, people get dressed up now. And actually with the Wish, one of the restaurants is called 1923, and people have been starting to dress up in like 1920s garb for dinner on their rotation night.
Yeah, how fun is that? Well, it's kind of like Dapper Day. Do you guys have Dapper Day out there?
Yep, they do in California. Yep.
Yeah. So we have Dapper Day. So it's kind of like Dapper Day. Go to 1923, right? Oh, that would be cool. That would be totally cool. Well, guys, I could literally talk for like another hour. Maybe we can have you back in a couple months or something to talk. Oh, we could talk about your Galactic Star Cruiser. I'd love to know about that.
Sure.
And seriously, when you guys are here, please reach out. I'd love to. We're annual pass holders, so we can run down there and grab a cup of coffee or something somewhere after your galactic adventure.
Yeah, as long as it's not Joffrey's.
Well, now I'm going to tell you, Joffrey's in the park is good. I don't know what they're serving on the ship.
It is better in the parks, but I will say, we live in the Seattle area, so I have to admit we're kind of coffee snobs, and so yeah.
See, to me, Starbucks in the park is kind of burnt and bitter, whereas Joffrey's is better. But yeah, you can't see it, but I've got 5 coffee machines behind me.
Ooh, I see. I just saw when you turned. Wow.
Yeah, I've got a couple of coffee makers back there, my grinder and all that. So yeah, I got my French press, my AeroPress, my Nespresso, my regular pot. So
love it. A man after our own heart.
There you go.
Yes, we're gonna have to get together. Yeah. But guys, this has been absolutely amazing. So much fun to chat with you guys. Again, for those of you watching live or you're watching on the replay, DCL Duo. One of my favorite travel podcasts, for real. There was one episode recently where Sam said something and Brian's like, oh my God, the hate mail, send it to Sam oh my God, that's me and Rebecca. Totally me and Rebecca. I can't remember what Sam said, but it was like something anti-Disney Cruise Line. And it was like, oh my God.
Yeah, listen, we're not afraid to take Disney to task when they're doing something wrong. We are the DCL Duo. We love Disney Cruise Line, but Disney doesn't always get it right, and we're not afraid to point it out and poke fun of them when they don't get something right.
Absolutely. And that Tower Suite episode, I think, is a great one for everybody to listen to, because I think there's a lot of great discussion about value there. So guys, again, thank you so very much for tuning in tonight. Thank you to everybody who has tuned in at home. Please subscribe to us. Please subscribe to DCL Duo. You guys are here on YouTube, correct, as well? Right.
We have a very small YouTube presence. We're primarily in the podcasting space, but we hope to have some more video here soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And we're everywhere on social media as DCL Duo. On Instagram, we're DCL_Duo, but everywhere else we're DCL Duo. And we have a Facebook group that we're quite active in as well.
Fantastic. And I found you guys on Twitter. I love your Twitter feed. We interacted quite a bit on Twitter before I even knew you had a podcast. So yeah, y'all are awesome. Thank you again for tuning in, and for everybody watching on Sunday mornings at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. We're live on TikTok, and we simulcast here on YouTube. And every Thursday night we've got some more cruise lines coming up. I got American Cruise Line, MSC Cruise Line, Virgin Voyages is coming on, and other folks as well. You guys got to get on Virgin Voyages. Have you been on Virgin?
We're planning on it. We actually are. We're going to be booking one for next year. We cannot wait. That's the one that everybody keeps telling us that's the Disney for adults. So we cannot wait to get on Virgin.
I compare, and people think I'm nuts, but I'm like, they compare very Celebrity, Disney, and Virgin. They're all very similar, and people are like, what? Yes, yes. Well, cool. When you guys get booked for that, let us know. Maybe we'll run down and come on board with you. That would be a lot of fun.
That would be amazing.
Thanks for having us, Walter.
Hey, thank you. You guys have a good night, and everybody will see you on Sunday and next Thursday. Good night, everybody.
Good night.